Welcome to the first session of the Association of Muslim Scientists, Engineers and Technology Professionals. Our session chair and our speakers for today's first session are here. Hopefully the audio systems and everything will work, and I think the sound is good. Right? Can you hear me well in the background, in the rear? Turn the mic. Not use the mic?
Oh, no. Yeah.
Okay.
Now feel free.
Maybe too near? Okay. I think there is a mic for the panel later, but for the speakers, inshallah, I want to make sure that this mic is working well. So maybe not get too close. Okay. Welcome again. Okay, good. Maybe just speak louder and not get too close. Yeah. Well, welcome again. My name is Razi Nalim. I am a professor of mechanical engineering at Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis. And we're delighted that we have a wonderful set of sessions and speakers at this year's conference. I think the quality of the presentations will be really a big step up and really moving forward with a lot of important issues that affect Muslims in the US, in North America, and around the world. So for today's first session, which is on sustainability and Islamic perspective, our session chair is Dr. Affan Badar, who is at Indiana State University in Terre Haute, Indiana. So I'll let Dr. Badar come, inshallah, and introduce the speakers.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So again, thanks to Dr. Razi Nalim for organizing this AMSET, the whole conference, which we have. Today is our first session, and inshallah we will have two more sessions tomorrow, again starting at 12:15. That's our first session tomorrow. But today is one session, and this is the session on sustainability and Islamic perspective. So we have two guest speakers, or the speakers for this session, Sister Huda, Alkaff, and Sister Nana Firman. So they will be talking about, I will introduce the speakers, but we have our AMSET Interim President, Dr. Sayyid Masroor Shah. So he will give an introduction about AMSET, Association of Muslim Scientists, Engineers and Technology Professionals. So he will give a brief introduction about that. And then Sister Nana Firman, and then after that Sister Huda Alkaff, she will give their presentation. Both of them, Huda Alkaff and Nana Firman, both of them, they have been awarded or recognized basically by the White House on July 20th as the champions of change for their efforts in protecting the environment and communities from the effects of climate change. So Sister Nana Firman, she has helped develop an urban community garden in Southern California and encourages the Muslim American community to practice on eco-friendly lifestyle. She is a member of the ISNA Green Mosque Initiative and previously worked with the World Wildlife Fund in Indonesia for several years, directing the group's recovery efforts in the wake of natural disasters. She also has worked with Muslim leaders in Indonesia to create climate resiliency plans. Firman is coordinating Muslim outreach for OurVoices, a global faith and spiritual climate action network. And Sister Huda Alkaff, she is also associated with ISNA Green Mosque Initiative, and both of them and Dr. Masroor Shah, they and Dr. Affan Badar was here. They started this year Greening Ramadan project. So if you are associated with the masjid, you must have seen some flyers, some information about the Greening Ramadan. So that was one of the tasks, but overall their project is how to have a green mosque project. So both of them were involved with that. So I will give you an introduction about Sister Huda Alkaff. She has formed her organization in 2005 in an environmentalist. She is an environmentalist with higher education in degrees in conservation, ecology, sustainable development and environmental education from the University of Georgia, and has experience teaching environmental studies courses at the University of Wisconsin. She is a founding member and leader of the Interfaith Network and Wisconsin Interfaith Power and Light and serves on the National Interfaith Power and Light Campaigns Committee. And we mentioned about the Greening Ramadan Task Force and the Green Mosque, ISNA Green Mosque Initiative, and the Milwaukee Environmental Consortium Board. So we have two very honorable speakers. So first I will ask now Dr. Masroor Shah to give an introduction about AMSET.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome, and hopefully you will enjoy the wonderful program. If you see on page 70 of your program, then you will have the next two sessions which are going to be tomorrow. They are listed also there. And of course this session relates with the sustainability, and the other session relates with the human evolution and Islam. Now, as part of our program, we are trying to do some issues which are maybe considered as technical, but as Muslims we are also concerned with them. So therefore, the AMSET is trying to bring all these to the forefront of, and especially this is the time when the people who do not belong to same specialties, they are here. Now, as I've shown here, that I'm going to do very briefly because the time has to be given to the speakers. That Association of Muslim Scientists and Engineers was the previous name of this association, but recognizing that also the technology professionals are the part of us, and sometimes there is a misunderstanding, so we have changed the name of that association to AMSET. And then we developed the new bylaws were developed to conform to the current needs. Then it is registered now as a non-profit organization in Indiana. And by the way, this AMSET is a constituent organization of ISNA, that is the ones who have established initially. Now the new executive committee to be elected to take office on January 1, 2006. You see I'm an interim president. The reason is that we didn't want the continuity of the same people there. We want to have the new people to come, so we have put a restriction that the current office bearers will not be eligible to be elected. So, in other words, I'm trying to tell you that we will want to have the more active participants in the future. So this is where we put a deliberately a restriction that the current office bearers will not be eligible. So first thing is, in a lot of the times when people ask why we need an AMSET. Well, you know that all the professional organizations have professions have their own organizations. For example, physicists have the American Physical Society, engineering, and all that, and everybody has there. So why do we need another society, and especially which is faith-based? The question comes to us: do we need that or not? And our deliberations have shown that yes, we need one of those ones, because we want to bring the Muslims together. And some aims and the purpose of the AMSET, I have not listed everything, but just briefly, one of the things is where is a big gap between the science and the traditional scholars of Islam. So we want to bring that gap together. In other words, bring them on the same platform, and then have the discussions of these issues, and then have the Islamic perspective of these ones. Now, the other is that, of course, there are a lot of implications of these and the ethical questions about these technologies, and we don't have really, as Muslims, we have not really dealt with them. So we need to deal with them then. And then, of course, one of the things is to promote responsible use of science and technology in public policy, and then to engage, of course, if I see, I'm a physicist, but I don't think anyone here is a physicist. And same is the engineering professional, but all of us have a common background, not necessarily in a specialized field. So we want to have a multidisciplinary cooperation and a communication so we can deal with the technological and scientific issues from the Muslim perspective. This is one thing which we want to emphasize, that there is a perspective which is maybe same or different from other faiths, but at least we have our own perspective. And then networking among the professionals, that's a very important part. And same is helping Islamic schools. Islamic schools concentrate totally on the traditional teaching of Islam, but if we combine with the science, then it will attract not only more students there, but there will be more appreciation of Islam and the science from them. So this is where we can help them. And then also to help college students to prepare for future careers and help Masajid Islamic centers to adopt environmental friendly practices. And these are two representatives for the champions of that are here. So this is also one of our goals. Now, I'm not going to discuss any of these ones, but these are few issues which come to my mind, but there are much more. There is genetic manipulation, technological applications in medicine, which is a very burning question, climate change, human evolution, artificial intelligence, and a scores of other ethical issues. These are the ones which we need to deal, and we have not dealt with them. And AMSET is the right venue to deal with these ones. And some things which we need to think, this is something not newer that I'm telling, but it is that always many of the technologies we develop, but we don't know for a long time till we have used that there is what are the consequences for that. And I as a radiation physicist, I know how many things we have done in the radiation, and now we are discovering the consequence of that, the bad consequences. So there is always that we cannot predict what will be the consequences. And now, today's systems are approaching a level of complexity that require the system to make moral decisions. It is that point now. So this is where we need to think about that. If humanity is to avoid consequences of bad autonomous artificial agents, people must be prepared to think hard about what it will take to make such agents good. And I just wanted to say that everybody is welcome, whether you are of this color or this color or this color. And then membership requirements are that you just be a scientist. And then I'm inviting everybody to become a member and participate, and then open chapters in your areas and so forth. Thank you.
The membership forms are in the back row. Okay, so you can fill out the form and leave it to us, or you can mail it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I have to leave. I'm sorry, but I have to go to another
Session.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
to Sister Nana Firman. I only gave introduction in the beginning, so she received this recognition from White House on the champion for change, for environmental effort. So she is our speaker, right? And she has flown from California.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm very short, so sometimes I have trouble when I stand up in the podium. But anyway, so when Sayyid Masroor, who just left, asked me to speak in this session, I was a little bit, I was not very confident because this is an engineer, scientist, and technology professional. I should not talk to them about this. They should know better than me. But I guess, well, why not? Just sharing something. It's part of da'wah. Like sometimes we forget, even though we are Muslims, sometimes we forget like all the teaching from our Holy Quran and from the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So I call this talk today, Our Common Future. So I'm going to start stories, like this ISNA's convention theme is about stories, and my story is not really a happy story. So it's kind of sad and depressing. And Sister Huda will bring you the happy story, but I'm going to give you the depressing story. So this is our world disaster. We're not talking about ISIS or terrorism, we're just talking about like natural disaster. As it is, we already have a lot of problems in the world, and on top of that we are having our natural disasters. Be it flood, drought, fire, and storm, hurricane, and you name it. It's there every single day that you watch on the news. And we also have problems. There's a lot of food being wasted in the world. So that means like we have like a lot of food to consume, but yet we know there's a lot of world hunger everywhere. And our domestic problem, this is like one of our criticism for the convention from the Green Masjid Task Force, where myself, Sayyid Masroor, and Sister Huda are part of, is we have in the United States itself a landfill full of plastic bottles and cups that we dispose every day. And this is another depressing, if you understand that we are actually using, like in the Western world, using approximately 40% of natural resources in the world. And the rest of the world have to share the 60%. So the developed world named North America, Europe, Japan. So this is very, it's not a happy story, because if you see, if the whole world live like people, the way people live in the United States, so we need like more than 5 Earths. And Canada, more than 4 Earths. So, and we produce from our human activities, carbon dioxide, be it from our energy resources, or how we need like more and more land, and we change our land use. We cut off rainforests or like even forests. We change them, make them into industrial area or cities or whatever we call as development. But is it really? Because our carbon dioxide goes back to our natural resources and pollute them, be it in the water or in the soil or in our air. And this carbon dioxide that we produce is actually increasing the temperature of our Earth. That's why we call it global warming. And what does it do? Well, we produce these greenhouse gases, and then we have the greenhouse effects, global warming, climate change, and disaster again. So I'm sure like we're familiar with these names that is being mentioned in the news a lot, but what does it really mean in our lives? So this is a Stern report which actually, like, you know, like as if the audience here are scientists and engineers, I'm sure understand that this is based on scientists that has been working on this issue for some time. That if just 1 degree Celsius increase, we're going to have like a lot of implication in our food, in our water, in our ecosystem. And right now we are on the tipping point that the scientists said we cannot go above 2 degree Celsius, and we are in the tipping point at this point because we are already polluting a lot of our earth. And this is the summary of it as it is. This is based on 2010 research. We as human beings already use 1/2 of our natural resources. So our earth is already like heavy with our burdens. So what else do we have? We have environmental problems, ecosystem quality, food, like, you know, ecological footprint, the earth temperature is going up and global warming, the ice in the North Pole, South Pole melting, and the sea level rise. What else? Like, we are very in a devastated situation right now. On top of that, so this is like making it like more depressed. We have urbanization. In 2008, 50% of the world population already lived in the urban area, meaning they all live in the cities. And if you all live in the cities, you know, where do we get our resources? Like, just for example, the food. Where are the food come from? So that is going to be a lot of problems, because then we need to supply more and more food for people who live in the cities, and not that many people are producing food in the non-urban area and farming zone. And to put it in the context for us as Muslims, if we see our Muslim population around the globe, mostly living in the developing world, and those urbanization is actually growing in Asia and Africa, and it's predicted by 2050, like more than 60%, almost 70% of the world population are going to live in the urban area. So we really have a big problem. And not only that, our Muslim community around the globe is actually the one who's suffering right now. If we talk about climate change, we are the one who's actually getting the impact of climate change. More than 1 billion Muslims already having that impact, be it in Pakistan, be it in Maldives, which is predicted to be under the water by 2030, and they're going to have to move from this island, because this island is probably going to be disappeared by 2030. So Allah asks us in the Quran, فَإِنَّ تَذْهَبُونَ, where then are we going? Where are we going? We are having this problem, just looking at ecological problem, environmental problem, not mention about political problem, social problem, economic problem. Like, we are actually in the brink of the crossroad. So we have options. Are we going to have everything just collapse, or are we going to have apartheid, where it's like the rich is going to have, like they're going to survive, but the poor, sorry, we're just going to leave you in the back frame, or are we going to go like for equity? And we as Muslim, of course, if from last night's session, we're talking about justice, about suffering, and when we see in the Quran, we have more than 600, like some sheikhs told me it's 700 ayah in the Quran talking about nature or environment. So it's everything that is related. Just read Surah Ar-Rahman. That's all about nature balance. And also, there's a lot and lots of tradition from our Prophet talking about this. But are we really living in harmony with our earth? So how can we, as Muslim, reflect on this? So I'm not here to lecturing all of you, but this is just a reminder to us, and please bring this and think about it, reflect on it when you go home, and then maybe share it with your family, with your community. So first, this world is the amanah from Allah. It says in the Quran. So you can go back and reflect on that. And also, we are the Khalifa upon this earth. And we know this ayah is a very famous ayah, and on and again being mentioned. And this is the time that we need to really think about it. What does it mean as being a Khalifa? What kind of responsibility that we have to take on this earth? And also this thing that I learned recently from my colleague, that as a Muslim, we take everything for granted, that we don't really look at that this earth is being put all together by Allah. Everything has a function, but yet we human beings, we just change everything based on our ego, nafs. And and then we just destroy the system of this earth, and then after that, when it's disaster happen, then we complain, why is it happening? So we need to really look at the ayat of Allah. Like last night, one of the Sayyid, I forgot, is Imam Zayd Shakir or Sayyid Ali Yaqubi, mentioned that Iqra. Iqra is not just reading the Quran, but also reading the sign of Allah in environment, in the nature, in where we live. What is the sign of Allah around us? And our Prophet ﷺ said that this earth has been made a masjid to us. What does it really mean? What does it really mean, having the earth as a masjid to us? And how is our responsibility to take care of this earth, how we take care of our masjid? And if we reflect on the the landfill that I mentioned, but the water bottle, the plastic water bottle, and the cups that is filling up our landfill. This is, for example, this picture is actually a good picture to show that there is no way out. Once you throw it out there, it's going to stay there forever. And we can transfer, developed country transport their waste to developing or underdeveloped country. The poor country, they have to, in Africa, they have a lot of waste, e-waste from developed world. But is that really going away? Unless you put your garbage to Mars, it's not going away. It's going to stay in our earth. It's going to affect our earth. And that is also the sign of wasters, al-mubazirun, which is Allah dislike that so much. And also we waste a lot of energy, a lot. So, this is just a simple thing, that a reminder whether we have to rethink when we use, in a modern society, we use a lot of gadgets. One person at least have 3 gadgets. You have laptop, you have iPad, notebook, or a notepad, or cell phone. Sometimes one person has 2, 3 cell phones, and then you just use a lot of energy over there, and we have to think about that. And then we have to support this clean energy. And the Environmental Protection Agency also has this Energy Star program for the House of Worship, and so far it's only one Muslim community that already applied on it in Boston. And of course, we want this, part of our habits as Muslims. Maybe if like I live in Southern California, which is, like we don't have winter. So why can't everybody just go with bicycle to mosque? So, make a movement, bike to mosque. Or if you have in your city or your area has a public transit system, then we need to support that. This is a quote from during the World Islamic Economic Forum about 3 years ago, that Muslims now, for the future, should be engaged in green technology and digital economy. So, and of course, going back to our fitra and taking care of our the mizan, the balance of this earth. And this is the most important thing, to conserve water. As we Muslims, we make wudu every day, 5 times a day at least. And how can we actually conserve water? I live in Southern California, which is facing the drought. So this is a campaign that I'm, actually engaging now with Muslims over there, that we need to think about how we use water. And of course, planting trees and growing garden is part of the Muslim tradition. And if we go back to the history, we can see a lot of like our masajid, our civilization is always engaged with garden, because garden is reminding us of Jannah. That's why the Prophet always takes time to go to the garden, and we need to make this as part of our tradition. And because of that, if we have a garden, we can plant our own food. That way we can consume our own local food, or if not, then you can purchase local food. Because why? Because then you reduce the transportation, like how to transport the food from one place to another place that use a lot of energy, and also to support the local economy, and also it's a lot more healthier. So I'm going to close with this. This is from Tim Flannery, the one who wrote a book called The Weather Makers. No one can absolutely know the future, but this does not stop us making forecasts and modifying our behavior accordingly. So before we talk about, like ecological crisis, climate change, or how can we become a sustainable community, then we need to change our hearts. So this is the most important thing, is changing our hearts, meaning that we, hopefully, inshallah, we can change our behavior. So I'm encouraging like all of you, if you have in your community social or economic or ecological justice movement, please, join them. And like I said on my presentation, grow your own food, starting from your home, and try to conserve water and consume less products, because then you make like less waste. And then like engage activities in nature, especially if you have children, introduce them. That is like, like we as human beings is part of nature, and save energy. And also like what we are trying to do now, trying to green our masajid. Hopefully, inshallah, this is a long journey, but we need to make a step. So that's it from me. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
So now we have another speaker, Sister Huda Alkaff, and she also received the Champion for Change recognition from White House on July 20th, and she is like leader in Wisconsin. So I'll have microphone to her now.
Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. So I'm going to address the issue of connecting faith and sustainability. That's the tagline of the Wisconsin Green Muslims, which I founded and directed 10 years ago. It also was called Islamic Environmental Group of Wisconsin. And I'm going to focus today about climate justice and water stewardship. So the Islamic Environmental Group of Wisconsin, or Wisconsin Green Muslims, was formed, as I mentioned, 10 years ago. And basically what we do is we educate our members and the Muslim community about the environmental teachings in Islam. And we educate them and we form different activities, service projects and education projects based on the Hadith, the Quran and the Hadith, and combined with science. I'm a scientist and an ecologist by training. So we do education and service projects to the Muslim community, and that's what's been going on. We are on Facebook and Twitter as well. So sustainability, what is sustainability? So it is the ability to meet the need of the current generation or today's generation, but not forsaking the needs of future generations. So here the key word is the needs. So we meet our needs, not the wants, but only the needs, and also the needs of future generations. And we look at this word, the needs, and I do exercises with my students where I tell them, let's make a list of what are our needs versus what the list of our wants. And we see that comparison, and that brings it home to them. And then this also addresses the issue of balance. And there is in ecology the concept of ecological balance. And it's the same concept that's in the Quran, in Islamic teachings, which is the issue of balance. It's there, so it's really a match, and it's easy to connect both concepts. That there is plenty to meet the needs of everyone, and every creature as well, that Allah created. So sustainability is the intersection between people, the economy, and the environment. Here, and also it goes beyond, and it's also the intersection between a vibrant economy that's based on meeting the needs. It's also an intersection between a healthy environment and the intersection between an equitable society. So all these must exist in order to have a sustainable environment and a sustainable society. That's what the goal, or that's what really the Islamic teaching is, to have a sustainable society for everyone. And it's based on justice. We talked about equity, so it's based on justice. And we see many verses in the Quran that talks about the mizan, the balance, the justice, that Allah created things in balance, and it's our responsibility to maintain that balance. And it's also our responsibility to care for all the creatures, because what Allah said, that He did not mean any injustice to any of His creatures. So that's there, the balance is there, it's repeated, it's the key concept in Islam. And it's over and over telling us, once we maintain that we can obtain and achieve a sustainable future for all. Currently, the trends shows that we are in an unsustainable trend if we continue the way we are, and we see that clearly. This is a snapshot of how the reality is. It's called climate injustice, because you see that those who pollute here are the 10 worst CO2 polluters. This is the amount they pollute per each person, and this is the amount of income they have. So it shows clearly that it is the wealthy are the ones who pollute more, versus the poor who don't have much, and they pollute less. But they are the most vulnerable. So that definitely creates an issue of injustice and inequality there. And that cannot be continued. So we have to listen to the cry of the poor and the vulnerable in order to solve this issue. We look at water stewardship. This is a key also concept in Islam. Allah created everything from water. And He tells us more that it's also in due measure. Water is being produced in due measure. And verily we can take that gift, the water gift, the sacred gift, we can take it away. So it's a scarce resource, and we have to be concerned about it, and we have to appreciate it. And in order to appreciate it, we need to understand it's only a scarce resource, it's limited, and therefore but it can meet the need of everyone and every creature if you're aware of that. And then how we can do that is by reducing waste. It's very simple. It's all there in the Quran. The messages are just one after the other telling us what we need to do and how we can achieve it. So this message is actually not just for Muslims, it's for everyone. It's for all children of Adam. Don't waste. So we look at the trends right now. We know it's an unsustainable trend. And we know that temperatures are increasing. So this is just the temperature within 20 years. It shows the increase in temperature here. It's going up. And how it affects water. Very significantly, just to bring it home here in Chicago, we look at the Lake Michigan, the temperature increase within 1 year. We can see that from 35, 42 degrees Fahrenheit to another increase over here within just 1 year, like less than 1 degree. But the trend shows that it will increase as if we progress the way we are. So we really need to be aware of that. This study here shows how all the lakes, not just Lake Michigan, all the lakes are affected by increasing temperature. This shows the ice cover, so it's the other way around, so how much ice is produced. We can see the ice is decreasing over the years. So this look at the ice cover here. So the ice is decreasing, therefore this temperature is increasing for the ice to decrease. And you see it all in all the lakes. And therefore it's the Great Lakes as well as all the other bodies of water and land. We see this globally, temperature is increasing, so it's all over the world, and it's really one of the warmest, this is last year, 2014, one of the warmest years globally, so we know that there is a trend here that's very dangerous and it's going to affect us all. What impact that has on human population in addition to just affecting resources? It causes conflict, or there is a great connection between increased temperature and conflict. And this is a study that's been published in Science, looking at climate change and conflict. And there has been this connection that they've looked at, and there were like hundreds of scientists that looked at these trends between climate change, increased temperature, and conflict all over the world. So we see here the studies that shows, you can see the same trend, unsustainable trend, dangerous trend, that shows increase in temperature and conflict, increase in temperature and wars, increase in temperature and also some kind of internal conflicts in the US, in Africa, in many other areas of the world. We see this one as well. You can see the map of the world here. And it's all the increase in temperature versus conflict. It's a trend that's been shown, the connection that's happening. So what can we do? We need to have a solution for that. And the solution is to implement sustainability measures in order. That's really the solution, because that's what Allah tells us that we need. If we can do that, there's plenty for everyone. There's a balance. The sustainability pretty much is the balance that's there in the Quran, the mizan, establishing the mizan. And what we do for the Wisconsin Green Muslims is we implement this in different ways. We work on climate change, we work on water issues. This is our theme for the year. So we divide the whole year into different themes, and we work on climate change in February, water in March, we work on Interfaith Earth Month in April, and then in May is Fair Trade. We work on Green Ramadan, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and Peace in September, then Energy in October, and Recycling in November, then Environmental Justice in December. And we continue on every year with the same theme. This way we are able to address all the issues that can lead us towards a sustainable society if we are really addressing them. And why we do that? Because Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said that if it's the last thing that you can do, if it's doomsday, then it's your responsibility. If you have a tree sapling, then you need to plant it because you'll be rewarded for doing that. So that's the key thing here. It's an active hope, and that we need to implement it because that's our responsibility as Muslims. What we do is we work with the youth and we encourage them, we educate them about climate change and our responsibility to do something about that. So this is a photo petition that was done with the Muslim youth in Wisconsin. More than 200 youth participated, and they've all indicated that yes, this is our responsibility, that this is something that we need to do, and we all stand up for climate justice. That's what they stood for. And this was one out of, we were 200 Muslims out of 2,000 from the Midwest, so we really made an impact there. What we do also, we put in infrastructure, green infrastructure. And for example, this on the Islamic side of Milwaukee, green roof we put there in order to implement this greening of the area, to purify the rivers and the neighborhoods by capturing the rainwater and storm water. We also we do rain gardens. This is an Islamic school in Milwaukee, and we green the area so that the kids, the children will have this rain garden that they can use and benefit from the butterflies and the other native plants that were planted there. We know that Prophet Muhammad told us not to waste water, not to waste anything, but water particularly because of wudu area, he instructed us not to waste water, and even if it's in the bank of flowing river. So that's a responsibility for Muslims to really, this is the amount of water that the Prophet used for performing wudu, and that's what we installed in our masajid. Really is this sensors, motion sensors, wudu area, faucets, special faucets that controls the amount of water. And therefore, we also monitor the water meter, and we noticed that there is significant reduction once we implemented the sustainable infrastructure. So there are things that we can do to make things better. Plastic bottles. We are definitely educating people not to use plastic bottles, and one-time use of plastic bottles, that's definitely is a big cause of problems here to the environment. So what we can do, we installed this refill water bottle stations at many of our masajid, and we are planning to move more with that and with education. What's cool about this is that it has an electronic digital counter. So we know how many water bottles we prevented from use, and that kind of, the youth like that. We work on environmental justice. I mean, if you look just in many urban cities, you can see that mostly this is, say, Milwaukee. The population here is mostly minority and poor and people of color. And there are 30,000 people in this area here have asthma. So there is an air quality problem, there is an injustice problem. So that's our role as Muslims, to be there among the leaders to implement environmental justice for this community, and which is where we live as well. This is our home. So this is our home, this is our air, and we need to make it better. We collaborate with many organizations in order to do that. This is Ramadan. We've been doing Green Ramadan for 10 years. Basically, we designate each day a theme that we all work together to make it happen, and then we quantify the results of happening that. So you can see the calendar here of every day, an act that you do during this month, and then we implement that. And that leads us to the Green Ramadan campaign, which we did here with ISNA. And by the way, we have here brochures, here booklets, so you are welcome to come and take them before you leave. That tells you about the Green Masjid project. So what we did is, this year was the first year in ISNA to do it. We had 37 mosques participate in 17 states, and this is a list of states that participate. Well, we focus on energy efficiency, water and food conservation. We use the green items. We asked the mosques to do that, and then waste reduction and a green khutbah, which is basically having education for the community. Celebrating Eid, so after Ramadan, after all this effort, we definitely thank Allah for this gift for enabling us to really have a sustainable Ramadan by doing all these activities. And this is in Milwaukee, in Humboldt Park, where we celebrate Eid. We do sujood on the grass, and we under the sun, open sun. So it's really powerful message here where we connect with nature and appreciate the gift that Allah gave us. How we do that is by collaborating with all these organizations and more. That's the key thing that we need to do as Muslims. We cannot do it alone. We are part of the whole. We're part of nature, as we showed before here, but also we are part of the community. So this all the partners that we are part of and leading the efforts. So we founded this Interfaith Network. We founded the Wisconsin Interfaith Parental Lives. We do lots of interfaith work. And also with other organizations we collaborate as well. And that leads us to how we can accomplish our goal, which is sustainability, sustainable society, by having a vibrant economy based on meeting the need of the current and the future generation, to have a healthy environment, and to have an equitable society. So that's what sustainability, that's what we do by connecting faith and sustainability. Jazakumullah khair. So
yeah, actually we have now time for discussion, but instead of discussion, maybe we can have some question and answer. And Brother Chief, yeah, so you can ask any question to either of these speakers, Sister
and
Nana.
we have the brochures here.
Huda, brochure for green. And there's also in the back we have some forms for AMSET membership. So you can fill out the form and give it to us. So any question?
Anyone have?
Or discussion?
It's on the door here.
You can use the microphone there.
I was just wondering, I apologize I came in late at the first talk, kind of went long. But is there anything at actual ISNA itself where they're focusing on recycling or being more green at the individual conventions? Besides the masjid?
We start with our home, which is the home of Allah, which is the masjid, and we work also on where's the mic?
Any speaker can use maybe this one.
Yes, actually this is one of our goals, really, to have a green convention. We worked really hard to do that, but this committee that was just formed this year, the Green Masjid Task Force that Sinan and I are on, so it's really the very beginning, but inshallah we are pushing for next year to be a green convention or a greener convention than it is.
Yeah, and where do you live, sister?
Ohio.
Ohio. So maybe you can bring the brochure and bring it to your local masjid and talk to the leadership, and then form even with the community, your green team within the masjid or the community, and then that's how we can move forward, because we're trying, of course, from the Green Mosque, the Green Masjid Task Force, like Sister Huda said, we are trying very hard, even to make it Green Ramadan as the national campaign. That's already a big step for us, because but then we are hoping every community started from their community, then we can also work from the top level, so bottom up and top down, both, and then we can meet in the middle.
Assalamualaikum. Could you talk a little bit about, I have two questions. Did you meet any resistance in your efforts at the mosque, and then the costs associated with some of these greening efforts? You were talking the sensors and the Huda stations and things like that.
She is doing something.
Interesting.
Green.
Yes, I wouldn't say resistance. It's like anything, any initiative, you have that stages. How about that? That you have to go through. And you have to like go step by step when you get to ground. But the interesting thing is that the first thing that when I started is I worked with the imams, and I got their approval right away. They were like on board. So that kind of, wow, that's one step. Then the youth, and we got their engagement right away. So when you have the imams and the youth, I mean, that's kind of a great step, 2 steps there. And then you work your way, and you have to, that's why we created this different themes, because that kind of addresses or reaches people where they are. And if this approach did not work, then you try the other approach, then you try this thing, then you try that, but you have to keep moving. You don't let something to stop you. Just try water, did not work, try energy, did not work, or if you, just keep trying. Try another approach. If it's recycling, did not accomplish what you want, but you have to keep working. Look at environmental justice. We work on transportation issue as well. This is a concern in our area to have an equitable transportation there. So you have to do different approaches, or that's what worked for us anyway, is to try different approaches and build on the momentum as we go along. So I would say that's focus on the positive and learn from what we did not accomplish, and do a power map. That's something that strategizes people. People tell you, like, look at a power map. What can get you where you want to go, and then move and have alternatives, and then negotiate your way through that till you reach your goal. And maybe you will not reach the bigger goal, but you can at least reach some goals on the way. That's good, because that's a small wins that you can build on. It's very important to have small wins that you can build on. That keeps the momentum going. Regarding the cost, they're very good programs that you have to keep looking, which are grants. Like the Green Roof was a grant that was going on in the society. So you have to look around what are there. And we applied for it and we got it. And then, so that kind of thing. And we also have, so grants are very important to keep an eye on. So mostly these were supported by grants throughout the initiatives that were going on to green the whole community, the city. And because of our relationship, that's why it's important as well. Because all the community work that we do, that builds on it. People know you, know that you are involved, that you are engaged, that you take this seriously. So you have this opportunity to get the grants because of all the engagement that you've done before. So it's costly, but because of the grants, you're able to do it. And once you get also the people on board, they will do fundraising. The community will do fundraising for it as well to support. If there's a matching grant or something like that, that will encourage them if you have a matching grant.
I just want to have a little add on that. So resistance, we don't really have that. Alhamdulillah as Muslim, because we refer back directly to Quran and Sunnah. So nobody have any resistance. So, because I talk to my other colleagues from other faiths, they have a lot of resistance from their own congregation. So, alhamdulillah, as Muslim, we don't have resistance, like Sister Huda said, everybody agree upon. And, but, as we know, in any changes, it's always taking, time and effort, and people say, oh yeah, but that's very hard to do that. So, started from a little thing, right? Okay, if we probably talk about energy that's too, up on the air for them, but so how can we change from our food, meal utensil? Not to waste so much cups, plates, and all those, spoon, forks that we always piling our garbage on. And build on that, and what I did is I kept having this having in the masjid. Alhamdulillah, the imam is very supportive of that. So we have movie about environment, the ice melting or stuff, and then I explain what it is, and keep going, like, building that, that kind of, the moral calling, among that. And suddenly, one day, I got this call. Sister Nana, the board of our masjid wants to put solar panel in our masjid. Can you help out to find somebody who's, who knows about this thing? And I was like, Allahu Akbar. I've never pushed in on, for, changing the solar panel, but I just kept talking about it, and then, what is the implication, and probably, I never asked the board to do so, but they take that as a consideration. So we never know. Like Sister Huda said, just keep going and keep it's part of our dawah. Anyways, this is like our ibadah to ask people to caring for our earth, so that we have nothing to lose. So when they we touch their heart, then they want to make a change also.
Any other question? We're already late, I think 5 minutes, so yeah, so sorry for that. So we have any other question or any discussion? One more. Okay.
Is there anything international, like where international Muslim countries are kind of going along this climate change thing as well?
I can actually. So just if you. So I just. Returned from Istanbul. So about 3 weeks ago, there's an international Islamic convention on climate change. So part of that was the launch of Islamic climate declaration. You can check on the web. It's IslamicClimateDeclaration.org. That is the calling for all Muslim leaders. And communities also to have to change our this is a moral calling, is a values, it's about ethic. So it's not just we talk about science and other things a lot already, but this is also responsibility as an ummah. So you can check on that, and so we're going to work. The next step is how can we translate that declaration into our Muslim community globally. And different in different nation and different community is going to be different. So that's we all on the same boat at this time.
Would you repeat that once again, please?
What is
It
that?
was Islamic what?
Okay, Islamic Climate Declaration.org. And by the way, ISNA endorsed that also.
I think because of the time constraint, we will close it here. So again, give a hands of so we have to give to everybody?
No, whoever is
Okay. And then tomorrow, inshallah, so again, AMSET second session will be tomorrow at 12:15 in this room. So Jazakumullah khairan.